Let's be real. In today's world, your app has to be everywhere, all the time. That kind of reliability, it's not just a nice to have. It's the absolute foundation of your business. But you only find out how strong that foundation is when things go catastrophically wrong.
So picture this. Your app is a massive global hit. You've got users from Tokyo to Toronto, all loving it. And then the unthinkable happens. A huge outage takes an entire AWS region completely offline. What happens to your users? What happens to your business?
You know, this isn't just some technical puzzle for engineers to solve. It's literally a billion-dollar question. And the answer is all about a powerful but honestly often misunderstood concept: disaster recovery. So let's break down what that really means for you.
Okay, before we jump into the super cool tech solutions, we've got to get our terms straight. These three ideas are the bedrock of any solid resilience strategy.
First up, you've got high availability. This is all about surviving the small stuff, like one server failing, to keep your app humming along 24/7. Then there's backup. Pretty simple, right? It's just making a copy of your data so you don't lose it forever. But disaster recovery, or DR, well, that's the big one. That is your master plan for bringing your entire application back from the dead after a major event, like that region-wide outage we were just talking about.
Now, here's the thing. Not all disaster recovery plans are created equal. The right strategy for you totally depends on two critical numbers that, frankly, every business needs to figure out for themselves. First is your recovery time objective, or RTO. This one is all about time. It's the absolute maximum amount of downtime your business can handle. Are we talking a few hours, a few minutes, or is it literally seconds? And second is your recovery point objective, or RPO. This one's all about your data. It's the maximum amount of recent data you can afford to just lose. Can you live with losing an hour's worth of transactions, or do you need to save every single one?
And this chart illustrates the trade-offs perfectly. Way over on the left, you've got your basic backup and restore. It's cheap, it's simple, but your recovery time is measured in hours. As we move to the right, you get to Pilot Light and Warm Standby. Here, you're keeping a small, ready-to-go version of your app on deck. Recovery gets way faster. We're talking minutes now, but your costs and complexity start to creep up. And then, all the way on the right, you have the holy grail, multi-site active-active. This is what promises near zero downtime and data loss. This is for the most critical applications on the planet.
So for the rest of our time here, we're going to live on that far right end of the spectrum. How do you actually build one of these active global applications that can literally survive an entire region vanishing?
Well, pulling off that level of resilience, it really all comes down to your database. Your data has to be live, it has to be accessible in multiple places at once. And on AWS, there are two superstar services built for exactly this scenario: Amazon Aurora Global Database and Amazon DynamoDB Global Tables.
At their heart, these two represent totally different philosophies on data. Aurora is your classic relational database. Think of a super organized spreadsheet with neat rows and columns, perfect for complex reports. DynamoDB, on the other hand, is a NoSQL database. It's built for insane speed and scale with flexible models, like storing documents or just doing simple lookups.
So when you're building a truly global disaster-proof app, which one comes out on top? Which one should you bet on? To answer that, we've got to put them head-to-head on the features that really matter.
Okay, let's break this down. We've talked about the data model. The next huge difference is architecture. Aurora has a primary/secondary model. That means you have one main region that handles all the writes and a bunch of other regions that just handle reads. DynamoDB, it's multi-active. Every single region is a primary. Now, this directly impacts failover. With Aurora, if your main region goes down, you have to manually tell a secondary region to take over. It's fast, under a minute, but it's manual. With DynamoDB, it's completely automatic. Traffic just instantly goes to the healthy regions. And this all comes down to one key thing: write latency.
So, how they handle writing data. This is the single most important technical difference between them. If you understand this, you'll understand everything about how your global app is going to behave. Let's see it in action.
With Aurora, you've got a read local, write global pattern. So your user in Europe can read data super fast from a local server. But when they need to write data, say post a comment, that request has to travel all the way across the AWS network to the one primary region. Let's say it's in the US. The US region does the write, and then it copies it back to Europe. It's really clever, but you always have that little bit of lag for writes.
Now, DynamoDB completely flips the script. It's read local, write local. That same user in Europe, they read from their local region and they write to their local region with practically zero lag. Then, behind the scenes, DynamoDB takes care of copying that write to all the other regions. For the user, it feels instant. The only trade-off is you have to think about what happens if two users in different parts of the world edit the same thing at the exact same time.
So we've seen the tech, we get the theory, but how does this play out in the real world? When you're just starting a project, which path do you actually choose?
This quote from a Reddit user, Green Pixels, just hits the nail on the head. They're building a simple app to track player stats. They know relational databases like Aurora, they're comfortable there, but everyone keeps telling them, you gotta use DynamoDB. Sound familiar?
The advice they got really boils down to 4 questions you can ask yourself. 1. How do you need to query your data? If you need complex reports with lots of filtering, Aurora is your friend. But 2, what if you're just fetching single items by an ID? Well, DynamoDB is way simpler and built for exactly that. 3. Cost. Starting a side project, you absolutely cannot beat DynamoDB's free tier. And finally, 4. Scalability. Look, both of these can scale to the moon, but they do it differently. Aurora gives you flexibility to change your queries as you grow, while DynamoDB gives you almost infinite scale for the queries you already know you need.
So for Green 3 Pixels app, which just needed to look up a player by their name, the choice became a no-brainer. The queries were simple and predictable. The simplicity and, frankly, the zero starting cost of DynamoDB made it the perfect choice.
And that brings us right to the final question you've got to ask yourself for your next big idea. What's more important right now? Is it the long-term flexibility of a database that can change and evolve with your app? Or is it the raw simplicity and speed that lets you get your idea launched tomorrow? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.